And we have this constructor circle taking 3 arguments to set data members of the class. As I mentioned last time, with this construction, you will see, before we go to what we have to talk, let's do this. With this construction, something like this won't work, because I invoke the default constructor, which you can see here. No matching function to call the default constructor. As soon as you put something there, the default constructor is not called, because it's not there. We have a constructor, and as you will see, taking 3 arguments and everything works fine. And we get that 78 number. How can I make this into both custom constructor and default constructor? I don't want to write another method. Very simple. Add here default arguments. Right? So be aware that you don't have to write 2 different constructors. The default one and the custom constructor, custom defined constructor. As soon as I put default values, now I can work with this type of variables and the other type of variables. So in this case, you can see everything is 0 because it takes these arguments. As soon as you change this to 1, right? 3, of course, it's that value, r square being 1. And now I would say this is C1, and then I can work with this one, which will, I can change the center, but I don't display any information related to the center for the circles, as you can see. So now 5 is used for radius. Our default argument R is overwritten, and 5 is the value. So this is a way to combine both default constructor and custom constructor. It's not always possible, but in most cases you can do it. Maybe sometimes you want to have 2 different constructors. It's not a mistake to have 2 different constructors, but you will see in the exam and test you will have a requirement to construct 1 constructor, which is default and custom constructor. So you have to be aware of this. It's nothing new. You have a constructor in which you use default parameters. This is a way where default parameters are very widely used. Okay. Any questions about this? Right. There is another thing which I didn't talk about, and I won't spend too much time on it, but this is another issue you have to be aware. Constructors, when they are designed like this, are used as converters. Be aware. For example, for this simple class, we have 3 data members. 1 is never initialized. You can have something like this. You have setter methods. 1 is initialized in theoretically the first constructor. I can put A gets a value I. So I construct an I object from an integer. So this is conversion. An integer is converted to an I object. I type can be whatever you want, number type, or student ID, doesn't matter. So, as long as you have a constructor which takes a different type parameter, and you organize code like this, you have that constructor as a converter, implicit converter. And here, as you can see, when we construct object 1 of Y type from 2, that constructor is called, which tells you Y of 2 is called, and an integer is converted to an Y. The second constructor takes 2 arguments, one to construct the name, and the other one to construct one of these. It's a bed style, what is here, but it's just for demonstrating conversion. Normally, the parameters in the constructor should follow the order of declaration of variables. Sometimes the compiler will tell you, oh, your data members are in different order than you made it into the constructor. The constructor parameters should list it in general to initialize this, this, and this. If it skips one, it's allowed, but the order should be preserved. And this, in this second example, as you can see, what we want here is to demonstrate how a string, C-type string, is converted into a Y-type object with this. Now here you can see Y is constructed from something. And again, 10 is used to initialize, to set the value of object 1. So there is an implicit conversion between integers and Y objects. And for simple types like this, it's okay. Here, when 5 is used by this function, which takes a Y type object, you will see we have an invocation of the constructor. So with this notation, remember, we get a hold of the function name, right? So if we run this, what you get, the output is some Y's for each variable which is called. Normally it's 4 Y's and something. For the moment we are stuck. Nothing is displayed. So this is the story. Well, I will try to run again. Do I have any other window open? And I think this is on your website, and I put here a reference where you can have a look at what other notions they have there. I want to display the Y's. So, if we want to prevent implicit conversion, we have to add explicit in front of the constructor. With this won't be allowed. So implicit conversion is forbidden. It says, this explicit keyword says, if you want to convert an integer to a Y, you have to write your own converter. Explicitly write the converter. Do not use this one here. But we won't go into much details. All you have to remember is that you can have situation where the constructor is, oh, I don't close it because I need something else. right, we'll let it. Circle. This was done. Demo constructor. This is, I tried the last one. Mystery of, yeah. So as you can see, we have Y1 for this construction. This is called ZY appears from here. There are 4 Y's and add, because all we do is just grab the name of the function. So we have one invocation of the constructor, another this is coming from the second one for here. Then 10 is converted implicitly to an Y. The third one, the fourth one, which this 5 is converted, the fourth one, and then add function. Name is displayed. So you have to be aware of this. Right. Close this. This is on your web page. Close. And now we go and